Hi, and thank you for joining us on Brushes and Brews. I'm your host, Miss Ronda Jackson, the fabulous interior designer. And today I'm here with Mr. Rod Lockett of Airo Construction. Hi, Rod. How are you?
Hey, how are you?
Nice to join me. Thank you for joining me on Brushes and Brews.
My pleasure.
Very good, very good. Well, for those that aren't as familiar with your great work as I am, will you tell us a little bit about Airo Construction?
So primarily, we're renovation specialists. Cut my teeth in residential
Okay.
and migrated over to commercial. Love commercial. Can always go back to residential though. Residential is basically renovation is just basically rehabbing stuff like that, right? So you get a new tenant that moves in a commercial building and they want to get some build outs, they want to build some walls and stuff like that. I love turning something that doesn't look great into something beautiful.
Ah, nice.
That's my specialty. That's what I love to do.
Okay, great into beautiful. Okay, so that is a wonderful opening to our beer today, which is 805, because I know that you do a lot of local Southern California work here in the neighborhood. So we're now supporting local business, local brewery, and then your great work. I like how you put that. The diamond in the rough sounds like the projects that you get a chance to work on.
Yeah, I was also a photographer many years ago, and one of the things that I thought about is that I want to make something beautiful, and I carry that over into construction.
Okay.
So when I look at a project, I'm thinking, how can I make this better?
Yes.
Of course, we have drawings and blueprints and everything like that, and we adhere to that. But maybe make some suggestions to the owner and say, hey, what about this?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times they're receptive of it because maybe they don't know.
Okay, I think
kind of going on.
that sounds more like you're very meticulous when it comes to details and the fit and finish.
Absolutely.
And how things intersect and join one another.
Absolutely.
Okay, so that's what's going to make that beautiful product.
Yeah,
I love that. I love that. So let's open up. Let's do our 805s. And just for the audience, yes, it's after 12 o'clock. Okay. Just so you guys know, yes, it's after 12.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll do a simple pour into our Studio D sampling glasses.
All right. 805. I keep some of this in my fridge.
Do you? Oh my goodness, yeah. This is a staple. All right, so we'll do a cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. Wait, cheers to
Merry Christmas.
Okay.
Happy New Year.
Yes.
A new start.
Very much
Hopefully
so.
post-COVID.
Wow. Yes.
Excelling in business.
Very much.
And in relationships.
Done. Thank you. Cheers.
Cheers.
Salud. What do you like most about an 805? What do you like most about it?
I like the taste.
Mm-hmm.
This says everything about Sunday football.
Okay. Yes.
To me.
Yes. I like that. I like that because you peel back a week where you're, working, you're juggling clients, juggling projects. Are you working on anything interesting right now or something?
I'm getting ready to start a project with it's kind of interesting because the actual property is a house that was changed over into a wellness facility.
Okay.
So, it's kind of run down a little bit because it's gone through a couple of different renditions. The exterior they built onto the original house, and you walk down the hallway, some of it's kind of leaning, you know what I mean? So it's stuff like that I really like because I can see what's wrong with it, and then I can see in my mind how it's being repaired.
Okay, so I like that because a lot of times contractors get a reputation for just that smack on.
Slapping it on,
yeah, slap it on. So what you're saying is that even when you get a project size, scale, scope, you peel it back.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you peel it back. Is there certain things you're looking for when you do that peel back?
I'm really good at visualization. Mm-hmm. What I'm looking for is how it is now versus in my mind. This little computer just throws this image at me to the finished product.
I understand.
So that answers your question. That's how I go about looking at projects.
Okay, no, that's nice. Do you have a favorite? So I know you mentioned the residential, but that you'll do commercial TIs, tenant improvements as well. Mm-hmm. Is there a favorite? Do you like, because I know a lot of times with the residential projects, you get way closer to the person that's actually going to be using the space.
Absolutely, yeah.
Versus commercial, sometimes you're dealing with a property manager or a building owner, but not the tenant.
Yeah, they don't have a whole lot of leeway. Mm-hmm. So one of the good things, so I'm working with Amazon right now.
Oh, nice.
And
Congratulations.
things are slowing down because of what's going on. But the cool thing is that uh, not the CEO, but the manager of that site, he's really receptive to ideas,
Oh, good.
right? So I like to get on my computer and do some 3D renderings and give it to him. It blows people away.
Wow.
Just that little skill of
Mm-hmm.
knowing how to do that. And it's not as difficult as people would think, but just knowing how to do that and give them some sort of visualization of what it looks like when it's finished blows him away. And he's been really receptive to that. I just redid a patio for him. Now I'm going to be making some homemade furniture.
Okay.
For some of the employees to utilize as well.
Yes.
So it's just stuff like that is what I really like. I can't say a specific project,
Okay.
but if you let me have some leeway for some creativity, I'm all there.
Okay, but I heard creativity, but also personal touch.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So something a Rod original.
You know what I like to do in my spare time? I like to look through Pinterest and Houzz and all the architectural sites to just get and gather ideas.
Okay.
And I'll start writing them down, for this particular one. Oh wow, this is great. I'll stay up to 2, 3 o'clock in the morning,
wow,
working on the renders, and they're gonna love this. And if they're on a budget, I can work with that too, right?
Okay, that's a big factor.
Yeah, because there's, with some of the raw products that we have at our disposal, you can make some really good things like cinder blocks and even pallets.
Yes,
right?
I've seen
There's a whole lot of creative stuff with that,
mm-hmm.
and it's not cheap to acquire those materials. And you work with it, you got yourself a really
bench,
nice, modern-looking
mm-hmm.
thing that people swear you spent, thousands.
I love that. So there's a couple things that you kind of made me think of when you were talking about that. So one, the environmental factor of repurposing simple materials like that. And also, I guess stereotypically, I'm just going to say, as a contractor, a lot of people don't associate that with creativity. There's this kind of brawny, aspect to it where you're just, dragging in mud on the boots and, that you're going to kind of bump and destroy things as you go along. But you've kind of given this curated effort to the finished product. And it sounds like you do it, naturally. It's not something that the clients have to ask for, but it's also part of your process.
Yeah, I mean, I get joy out of it, to be honest with you, so it doesn't make it seem like work as much.
Mm-hmm.
And getting back to what you mentioned earlier, contractors, we have this, aura about us maybe from way back in the day where, we're dragging in, from a day's work, we got mud on our boots and stuff like that. That's the old time way construction was done. And even then it was a bad thing, right? Mm-hmm. So now, I mean, there's so many ways to approach it. I had a guy that worked for me, and I love his approach, right? Because if you saw him on the street 20 minutes after he finished the construction project, he would never know he's in construction.
Oh, wow.
So what he does, he brings a bag, he has extra clothes in it, mm-hmm. right? When he finished doing whatever he does, he's like me, I like to get in there and be a little physical sometimes, and I'll get dirty.
Yeah.
But what he'll do is he'll go in the bathroom, he'll take 10 minutes, 15 minutes, clean himself up, change clothes, put his dirty clothes in his bag, walk out. You'd never know he's in construction.
You're not that guy.
And that's kind of how construction has evolved from the stereotypical, mm-hmm. Muddy boot dude.
Yeah.
My uncle was that guy, and I worked for him. He fired me.
He's like, no, clean it up.
But he fired me because he said, "You're too bright to be in this field."
Okay.
Exactly. And I hated construction for a while. Mm-hmm. And then when I picked it up again later in life, I realized what he meant about that. He was a laborer back then.
Right.
And my cousins were laborers, right? So they didn't have the creativity or capacity to think that they could do more, right? And I've learned so much from becoming a general and being in construction. I keep telling myself, man, I wish I would have got into it when my uncle when I worked for my uncle.
Right.
Before he fired.
But I think you bring up a really great point that the business of construction, right? It very much has changed. And then, but that technical side is still needed. So we still need our craftsmen. We still need our, very tuned in technicians, for delivering the products that we do. But I think that there's a certain, not sass, but there's a gentleman-like quality about negotiating the contracts and, educating the customer on what the process looks like, and even you just refining what those processes are.
Absolutely.
Because there isn't really a manual. I mean, if you would agree, over the years, there isn't really a manual to follow on, how-tos and, best practices. I think it's a little bit of trial and error, but it also has to be what suits the contractor as well.
That's true. And, the typical owner, not talking about in your upper level commercial work, but the typical owner that's looking to hire a contractor, they may not know how to communicate their fears and, their, desires to the contractor, right? So I try to make that process a little easier. I'll laugh and joke, or I'll find something funny, or at least something that we can relate on.
Yes.
Oh, you have a German Shepherd. Man, my neighbor had a German Shepherd. Small talk actually helps break down those barriers.
Right.
And so they're more comfortable with you, and they realize that you're just an average Joe, right? And they'll share things that they may not share with the guy that's running through there. So you and I both know with some contractors, they have this perpetual scowl.
Oh,
yeah. It's like, they're just, it's like they feel they have to be the main dude. And I get that, because the field can be challenging sometimes.
Very much so. But I like how you are taking the time to getting to know the client as well as allowing them to get to know you. And because that's a very personal, long process, especially for someone that's, on that journey for the first time. They may not know what a remodel of some sort of, rehab looks like for themselves. You can be in that person's life from 6 months to 2-3 years.
Depending on the project.
Depending on the project. So how do you share with the client the realities like that of a project, timeline-wise, budget-wise?
If they don't know, if they're not experienced, I try to give them insight if there's time for it. Okay. If I could sit down and speak to them and, say, hey, listen, I understand what you're trying to do, but let me give you the reality of it. And this is sometimes pre-bid, yes. Right? So they haven't hired me yet. I'll tell them what they're in store for, what they can expect from me, what they can expect from my crew. And if there's something that they don't approve of, to let them know it's okay to bring it to me. We don't have to go through the whole arbitration thing, easy to work with. And as a contractor, my goal is to finish my project, go to the next one. Yes. If I'm tied up on this one project, if there's something wrong, I'm willing to negotiate, and I'm really good with that, because I like to bring value to what it is that they're trying to do with their project. Right. And so, usually, there's a way to find that level ground.
But I think back to your earlier point of how you handle projects, having those preliminary visuals kind of level set the playing field and expectation. When you draw it out like that for someone, now you've taken that concept from their head, just idea, to paper, and then you have an opportunity to say, oh, well, I didn't realize that was going to be that high or that low, or, where's the transition here? And I think you work all those things out on paper, you have that plan, then the built environment kind of matches the expectation.
Right.
I find that if there are challenges in a project, it's just that person's mental expectation and what transpired in the built environment just don't match.
Correct, yeah. And that's what, in my opinion, was missing from construction in earlier days, because the client can visualize all they want to, but if it's not something that they can put their eyes on to see exactly how it looks, it makes it difficult, because their vision is going to be different than yours. But if you're seeing the same thing, all of a sudden, everybody's on the same page if they agree with what they see.
Okay, well, we got to toast to that. We got to toast to seeing the same thing.
There you go. Yeah, because most people don't.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That's good beer.
That's very good beer. I like how cleansing it is for your palate. Like, you can have that with pizza, you can have that with, the popcorn, the pretzels.
Absolutely.
And then, what is that? On the treadmill on Monday. So Sunday football.
You said it.
Monday workout. Okay, so if clients are looking for a technical contractor, one that cares about the finished product, one that can help them visualize what they're looking for, what's the best way to connect with you?
Very easy. You can reach me on my website, Airo Construction, AIRO construction.com. I usually usually answer the phone half the time, or I have someone else answer the phone, but I always get back to my calls.
Very good. Okay, so we'll put all of that contact information in the description box below. It'll be right next to that little red subscribe button, which don't forget to do if you haven't already. So thank you again for joining us on Brushes and Brews today. Oh, I just thought of another question. Do you mind? Do you have
Sure.
2 more
No,
seconds? So I just want one piece of advice for someone that maybe has not embarked on a construction project. What's the one thing that you would ask them to be mindful or consider?
So I would say there's a couple of things, but kind of what we touched on earlier. If you've never done a construction project before and you're thinking about taking it on, kind of wipe the slate clean of what you think contractors are, because there's a whole new breed of contractors, and we're all about integrity and doing the job well. Now, there are still guys out there that's a whole slap them, kick them up, let's go, pay me kind of contractor, but, take in consideration that the guy that you're, or the woman that you're talking to may not be that type of person.
Mm-hmm.
So write out your list of what it is you desire, present it to them, and watch the response.
Yeah, so you have to
You know?
measure up. I like
Yeah.
that. I like that. So take the time. And then there's enough of us out there. And I'm hoping that on our Brushes and Brews episodes, you'll get to meet Rod and other fellow contractors that have the professionalism and the integrity to get the job done. So thank you again for joining us on Brushes and Brews. Thank you, Rod.